Amida Dharma Essays by Gansen John Welch Sensei. The only key that unlocks the eternal prison that is samsara. Amida Buddha's Primal Vow by Gansen John Welch Sensei. We live in a world governed by the laws of cause and effect, karma. For example, there are no instances where a human being jumps out of an aircraft without a parachute at an altitude of 10,000 meters above the Earth's surface and does not plummet rapidly to the ground. This happens consistently every time that a human being fulfills these essential preconditions. This means, for example, that the outcome does not change from one day to the next. This much is self-evident to all adult human beings who possess a healthy, fully functioning brain and senses, eyes, ears, etc., as well as the ability to reason, assess, analyze and comprehend evidence accurately, reach logical conclusions and predict probabilistic outcomes between 0 and 100% probability, based on empirical observation, analysis and interpretation of the data, etc. The difficulty for unenlightened human beings is their difficulty in applying the law of cause and effect, or karma, to infinite time and space, human lives in the beginningless past and endless future, as well as endless multiple universes. Based on my study, reading and research, as well as personal experience, including the lives and teachings of Shakyamuni, the 7 Amida Dharma Masters, Shinran and Renyo, the majority of unenlightened human beings appear to prefer personal preferences, prejudices, opinions, feelings, likes and dislikes when making judgments or decisions about phenomena and life in samsara. This leads inevitably to the increase of avoidable suffering in samsara. It must be emphasized that there is inevitable and unavoidable suffering in samsara, such as the pain of birth, aging, sickness, illness and death. If we were rational, intelligent human beings who were compassionate to ourselves and other human beings, as well as other sentient beings in samsara, we would use our precious human existence to eliminate or ameliorate gratuitous suffering in samsara, as the inevitable and unavoidable suffering in samsara is more than sufficiently painful for most intelligent, sensible and reasonable human beings. But a study of the words and deeds of human beings, both past and present, shows that this is not very often the case. These topics have driven me in my lifelong quest to better understand these issues, and I hope that this essay will help others who are interested in these subjects. Master Shinran wrote, quote, "Through countless kalpas and innumerable lives, we did not know the strong cause of liberation. Were it not for our teacher, Genku, this present life also would pass in vain." End quote. Master Genko, Honen, 20 hymns based on his writings and biography. If we are honest with ourselves, we must admit that we waste much of our lives pursuing many worthless worldly activities. Of course, we should try to avoid or minimize problems, difficulties and suffering whenever possible, but we should also devote time, energy and effort to understand Amida Dharma and its unique path to salvation and liberation from samsara. Faith or Shinjin is absolutely essential, as explained by Master Shinran Shonin in the following passages. Quote, Chapter on Shinjin 3, a collection of passages revealing the true Shinjin of the Pure Land Way, compiled by Gotoku Shinran, disciple of Shakyamuni. Preface. As I reflect, I find that our attainment of Shinjin arises from the heart and mind with which Amida Tathagata selected the vow, and that the clarification of true mind has been taught for us through the skillful works of compassion of the great sage, Shakyamuni. But the monks and laity of this latter age and the religious teachers of these times are floundering in concepts of self-nature and mind only, and they disparage the true realization of enlightenment in the Pure Land Way, or lost in the self-power attitude of meditative and non-meditative practices. They are ignorant of true Shinjin, which is diamond-like. Here I, Gotoku Shinran, disciple of Shakyamuni, reverently embrace the true teaching of the Buddhas and Tathagatas, and look to the essential meaning of the treatises and commentaries of the Masters. Fully guided by the beneficent light of the 3 sutras, I seek in particular to clarify the luminous passage on the mind that is single. I will pose questions concerning it and then present clear testimony in which explanation is found. Mindful solely of the depth and vastness of the Buddha's benevolence, I am unconcerned about being personally abused. Let companions who aspire for the Pure Land and all who abhor this defiled world accept or discard what they will of his work, but let them not ridicule the teaching. Reverently contemplating Amida's directing of virtue for our going forth, I find there is great Shinjin. Great Shinjin is the superlative means for attaining longevity and deathlessness. It is the wondrous way to awaken aspiration for the pure and rejection of the defiled. It is the straightforward mind directed to us through the selected vow. It is Shinjin that actualizes Amida's profound and vast benefiting of others. It is true mind that is diamond-like and indestructible. It is pure Shinjin by which a person easily reaches the Pure Land where no one goes. It is the mind that is single, realized by the person who is grasped and protected by the compassionate light. It is great Shinjin, rare and unsurpassed. It is the quick path difficult for people to accept. It is the true cause of attaining great nirvana. It is the white path by which all virtues are fulfilled instantly. It is the ocean of Shinjin that is itself suchness or true reality. This mind arises from the vow of birth through the Nembutsu. This great vow is known as the selected primal vow, the vow of the threefold mind of the primal vow, the vow of sincere mind and entrusting, and further may be called the vow of Shinjin, which is Amida's directing of virtue for our going forth. For the foolish and ignorant, who are ever sinking in birth and death, the multitudes turning in transmigration, it is not attainment of the unexcelled, incomparable fruit of enlightenment that is difficult. The genuine difficulty is realizing true and real Shinjin. Why? Because this realization takes place through the Tathagata's supportive power, because it comes about wholly through the power of great compassion and all-embracing wisdom. If pure Shinjin should be realized, that mind will not be inverted, that mind will not be vain or false. Thereupon, that sentient being of extreme evil, profound and immense, will realize the mind of great joy and receive the veneration and love of all the sacred honored ones." End quote. Reverend Joshua Adrian Salia explains in his book, The Meaning of Faith and Nembutsu in Jodo Shinshu Buddhism, what we must do to receive faith or Shinjin. Quote, "The way to faith, listening deeply to Amida Dharma. What can we do in order to receive faith or Shinjin? We should listen deeply to the teaching about Amida's non-discriminatory or universal salvation until we understand it and accept it with our mind and heart." Master Renyo said, quote, "Regardless of our doubts, if we listen intently with our entire being, we will be given Shinjin because of great compassion. The Buddha's teaching begins and ends in hearing." End quote. So, in our tradition, listening to the teaching is the most important practice. You have to listen again and again, and one day you will become open enough so as to entrust yourself completely to Amida Buddha. The words, "we will be given Shinjin because of great compassion," shows that Shinjin comes from Amida, as I explained in the previous chapter. But the first part, "if we listen intently with our entire being," shows what we have to do if we wish to receive the gift of faith from Amida. There is a good poem on this. Quote, "Uncover your cup to receive the Dharma rain. Then faith in the Nembutsu will naturally arise." End quote. The author of these verses is Jason Rennick, an American Pure Land follower. If one does not listen deeply to the teaching, but is filled with ideas of self-power or keeps oneself under the influence of various non-Buddhist religions, he cannot receive Shinjin, nor say the genuine Nembutsu, which is the natural manifestation of Shinjin. Faith and Nembutsu are not forcibly imposed in our hearts by Amida Buddha. So if somebody does not show interest in the Buddha's teaching, and especially in the teaching about the primal vow of Amida, he cannot receive Shinjin. Here are some examples of listening deeply to Amida Dharma. Think that the solving of the matter of birth, repeated births and death, is the most important thing in your life. Put aside all other Buddhist or non-Buddhist teachings, philosophies and opinions, and listen. Reading is also listening, only to Amida Dharma. Put aside what you think you know and listen to what Amida Dharma has to say. Empty your cup or mind of your so-called personal wisdom and stay open to receive the nectar of Dharma. Consider that you know nothing, and that Amida Dharma knows everything. Read the most simple and essential texts of our school. Listen with a devotional mind and heart. Listen again and again, that is constantly, in the manner described above. Ask questions if you have doubts, or if there is something you do not understand. Study the answers carefully and without hurry, and ask again if you need to. Engage in a Dharma dialogue, not debates, with people who are already established in faith and who do not embrace wrong views. Think of the testimony of Shakyamuni Buddha himself, and of so many wonderful masters like Nagarjuna, Vasubandhu, Shantao, Honen, Shinran, Renyo, etc., who accepted the existence of Amida Buddha and the reality of his salvation. Always ask Amida Buddha for guidance. Bow to him, and say his name, even if you're not yet established in faith. No matter how many doubts you have, or how awkward it might be at the beginning, find some time to sit with Amida Buddha and ask him for guidance. Give a chance to the idea that he and his salvation are real. You really have nothing to lose if you accept Amida's salvation. On the contrary, you gain everything. You will be born in the Pure Land at the end of this life and become a Buddha. Your suffering in the repeated births and deaths will be over, and you will be capable of truly helping others, especially your dear ones. Please also meditate on what you have to lose if you do not accept the existence of Amida Buddha and the reality of his salvation. The chance you now have to be in a human body and listen to Amida Dharma might not be met in thousands and thousands of lives. So, just give it a try and do the above things for some time." End quote. All we have to do is to be honest with ourselves, recognize our faults and failings, realize the futility of our self-power practices, and come to understand the inexorable law of cause and effect, or karma. In plain language, based on our so-called attainments and achievements as unenlightened beings in samsara, we are more likely to be reborn in lower realms because of past and present negative karmic seeds ripening at the time of death. Even if we are reborn in the human realm, we can see that the majority of humans live in difficult circumstances with little or no opportunity to encounter Amida Dharma. Those that do often do not have an open heart or mind, enabling them to understand Amida Dharma and develop faith or Shinjin and entrust their karmic destiny to Amida Buddha. Master Shinran Shonin warns us with great urgency and clarity. Quote, "Without entrusting themselves to the Tathagata's compassionate vow, no sentient beings of these times, the last Dharma age, and the fifth 500-year period since Shakyamuni's passing, will have a chance of parting from birth and death. Those who, it appears, will never attain enlightenment, all attack the practice of solely saying the name. The mark of destroying the teaching of sudden attainment is that for them the vast sea of birth and death will have no end. We may think that these times belong to the right Dharma age, but in us, the lowest of foolish beings, there is no mind that is pure, true, or real. How could we awaken the aspiration for enlightenment? The aspiration for enlightenment through self-power taught in the path of sages is beyond our minds and words. We foolish beings, ever sinking in transmigration, how could we awaken it? If it, Amida's primal vow, is a great torch in the long night of ignorance, do not sorrow that your eyes of wisdom are dark. It is a ship on the vast ocean of birth and death. Do not grieve that your obstructions of karmic evil are heavy." End quote. Pure Land Hymns on the Right, Semblance, and Last Dharma Ages by Gotoku Zenshin. In conclusion, you now have the key to unlock the eternal prison that is samsara, that is Amida Buddha's primal vow. So give thanks in humility and great gratitude. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu. Thank you, Amida Buddha. Homage to Amida Buddha. I take refuge in Amida Buddha.